I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Tuesdays are my request evening. Thursdays are my stories that I like to bring to you. I'm having a bit of a faff with my hair this evening, but my format. I'll have a quick chat with the guys in the live. Then I begin the story once I start. I don't stop. I don't think it is on. I start, I don't stop. And then I have a quick chat with the guys in the live afterwards. If you'd like to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/JessRose5472. Thank you all so much for joining me. Like I said, I'm just going to have a quick chat with the guys and then we'll start. Hi, how we doing? I'm very frazzled. I don't know where that light up thing's gone again. Hang on 1 second, let me see. It's saying retouch. What's it mean by retouch? Retouch where? And do what? It's just, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's bringing up... Oh, okay. All right, let's see what happens then. Let's see what happens with this. How are we all, though? How we doing? Oh, God, she's here. How we doing? Hey, Warwick. Is Warwick here? Oh, there he is. Hey, Warwick. How are we all? Oh, God. Oh, faffy. I can't change the lighting again. I was hoping it'd all be fixed by tonight, but it's not. Does it look really dark? Does it look really dark in the background? I'm very hot. Hey, Phil. How are you? How are we doing? I'm very hot. I'm very frazzled. The fringe is going to be stuck to my face by the end. Does anyone know this one? Don't start retouch. No, it says retouch. It says it. That's what it says. And I don't know what that means. But it's not letting me do anything, even if I wanted to. I don't know what that means. Look, it's letting me again. What does that mean? Oh, that's just messing with that. Oh, I don't know. No touching. Can you see me pressing? Can you see... Oh, can you see me doing that? Can you see me doing that, pressing the screen? No, it does not. It doesn't mean that. Very funny. Very funny. But could you see me pressing it then? Was my big finger up against the screen? I couldn't see it. I couldn't see. Why have you got rid of that? We all saw it. Saw the gogs going, oh no. I saw what? Oh, you couldn't see me doing it? Oh, okay. Oh, look, I don't know. I think we all know I'm not technically challenged. Well, I am technically challenged. My God. It's going to be a long night, isn't it? Let me do this. Lights, I'm trying to sort lights and everything else. Ask your old fella. You still got it wrong. You still spelt it wrong. Yeah. How do I get my hair this straight? It's, do you want to know? Do you want to know what it is? I got that, that thing, you know, where you can get your split ends. Have you seen it where it goes, looks like a straightener, but you can get your split ends? I bought it. It's actually really good. It's really, really good. Or are you taking the mic? Well, it is straight, isn't it? Yeah, it's actually really good. God, I'm going to use it on, are you being funny? Are you being funny? It's hard to know with you. I don't know if she's being funny or not. But, yeah, it's a good thing, though. It's a good contraption, should we say. Does anyone know this one in Birmingham? Oh, okay. All right, then. Okay. Thanks. Thank you very much. But this one... All right, then. Thank you. I'll take it. I'll take it. Thank you. It's hard to know. It's hard to know sometimes. But, yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, it just gets rid of all your split ends. It's only cheap as well. I can do this. Because it doesn't straighten it, but it just gets rid of all the split ends. I'm sure the men are very interested on here. I'm sure Warwick's like, that's fabulous. That's fabulous, that is. Thank you for telling me. But you know what? Rose West knows it. Rose West knows it. Either you know this story tonight, or that's really ironic that you've just brought her into the equation. But I don't know what other connection it would be. Okay. Fair enough. Is that why you've said that, Warwick? Do you know this story? Is that why? It's not Rose West, obviously, the story's not, but there is a connection. Is that why you've just said that? Or have I just missed a joke completely? It's just gone, as they always do, straight over my head. Ha ha, don't you get me started. Ah, so you don't know this one? Do? Okay. I was hoping no one would know this one. I really was hoping he wouldn't know this one. But it is, does anyone else, anyway, considering it's a Birmingham one, have I got yous all? Because to be honest, it's not a request, okay? It's not a request. No, I mean the connection to this story. You know, are you being funny? Are you being funny, Tiffany? Because please tell me you do. It's hard to know if this is sarcasm. But it's not a request off Mum, but she did tell me about this one. So whoever's made requests, are you all being funny? You aren't that bleeding young. What was I going to say now? Yes, basically, it's not a... What? Okay, fair enough. Well, I'm not talking about Rose West anyway this evening, so... It will become clear. Thank you, Warwick. It will eventually become clear. I can't believe you don't know Fred and Rose West. That's mental. I'm going to have to do that one for you then. I haven't done that one because I just thought it had been saturated. She's terrible, ain't she? But Mum had she told me about this one. So it's not a request. I'm actually working on your one, Warwick, to be honest, at the moment. And Kelly's going to kill me, but Kelly's is much longer. So I'm actually working on your one, Warwick. But your one's not a lot on it. So that one's frustrating me a little bit, but I'm working on it. So this isn't a request. My mum's not bumped the queue. It's not nepotism. But would you say that? No, nepotism's going, if it's it can be any relation, can't it? It doesn't have to be if it's younger or older. Look at me trying to be clever. No, it's not. It's not favouritism either. It's none of them. Oh, Phil, you're not, please don't. Please join in because you're not alone. I'm talking and I can't keep up with them. So honestly, you don't need to do that. You really don't. What's your one? I don't know what your one is. I didn't even know you'd requested one. But I always ask for it to be put in my comments anyway, so if you haven't done that, it probably has been forgotten. They are going to... Oh, she thinks she's funny. Oh, God. There we go. Right. Phil, don't you worry. I'm going to start now. I didn't think you had. Bugger off. Yeah. Hi, Kelly. How you doing? They're all winding me up, Kelly. Poor Phil's can't keep up with the loop. They're all on one tonight. Why are you saying it in capitals? All right, it's okay. It's all right that you do. I'm so happy. I'm so happy you know who she is. It's okay. Oh God, Tiffany's getting annoyed. It's okay. Yeah, that's gonna be the storyline. Don't forget. I won't even say heartbreaking. I'll say devastating. But yes, like I say, I said I didn't know her. I didn't know. So I don't know who Rose West is. Also, I don't know this story. Yes, Tiffany's losing her mind because she does know Rose West, so she's losing her mind there. Right. So anyway, what I was trying to say is, Mum pointed me in the direction, but I just didn't want anyone thinking that I'd bumped my mum to first of the queue because I haven't. Kelly, I just mentioned you. Yours is a real long one, as I'd mentioned in the last one. Warwick's is hard to find, but I think I should be able to do Warwick's by Tuesday. Kelly, on yours, I promise. It's just frustrating me because every time I think I've got everything on it, I find something else and I'm like, ooh, was it the brother? But, okay, I've just gave bits away. Anyway, you'll know what I'm on about, if obviously knowing the story. So, I'm going to start this one anyway. The reason it really appealed to me because I know the areas, and so will anyone else who knows Birmingham. It's crazy the fact that I don't know about any of you, but I'd never heard of this story. So if you are watching tomorrow, I'm going to start now. I'm going to leave the guys have their little yabber in the comments. I can't see the comments now, so I don't know what's happened there. So I'm going to begin now is what I'm going to do. Okay, I've just literally, comments have come up now. No, I've just seen all this here. No, I haven't bumped anyone's to do Mum's story. That's not what happened. I do requests on a Tuesday anyway. Your one's Jean-Benet Ramsey, Kelly, and yeah, who said Small Leaf? Who said it? Yeah, you're not too far. You're not too far away. Okay, I'm starting. All right. Okay. All right. Right. Right, if you're watching tomorrow, I'm going to start now. This is the Birmingham spree killer with Phillip John Smith. Okay? All of the above. All right? So, how I'm going to do it, there are a couple of names in this. Not as many as I've done over the past few weeks. I've tried to do it in as ordered as I can. I'll begin now, okay? So, we're going to go to Thursday, the 9th of November, 2000. All right? 6 a.m. Okay, and we go to Golden Hillock Road, Small Heath, Birmingham. All right. 2 police officers are actually patrolling, just walking down Golden Hillock Road, and they notice smoke, flames, coming from, it's called the Ackers Trust Adventure Park. Now, when I was younger, before the Ackers Adventure Park was a thing within that area, it was actually called the BSA Park, and it was literally just a park. Obviously then they built it. It's an adventure park. They've got like a dry ski slope. What's that called? Zip lining. God, I got it in the end. They do all that sort of stuff there. So, these police officers got, as they're walking along the Golden Hillock Road, they noticed smoke and flames coming from that particular area. They head up a service road leading into the Ackers Adventure Park. And when they get to the area where the fire is, they, of course, straight away extinguish the fire. And there was a blanket. What they thought was on fire was actually a blanket. And when they extinguished this fire and moved the blanket, they realised there's someone under there. Okay. And the body under there was naked. All right. Andy Howe, or Howe, presume it's Howe, was the detective inspector that was called at this time. Okay, now this was, and it still is, a very busy area in Birmingham. It is. So the fact that a body had just been discarded there, in fact, you know, they were like, they must have been desperate to get rid of the body and any evidence. That must have been what was going on at the time, to actually put a body there. So the body was only separated from the footpath by sort of a waist-high metal fence. Now that had to be removed because where the body was over this fence, it was on a hill, and that hill brings you down to sort of like a brook. So it was quite difficult. So they couldn't get to the body from the other side, so they had to have the fence removed, which Birmingham Council did come straight out and do. Now, the body was actually a young woman. They found she was in the fetal position. She'd been tied up with rope, and like I say, she was wrapped in a blanket. All right. Now, the detective believed that this was where the body was dropped off. She wasn't actually murdered there. They could just tell there was no clothes in the area. Nothing had been disturbed. So they knew that this was essentially a deposition site. Okay. So they checked the missing persons listing for the area, which, you know, there was nothing found. So the pathologist managed to get fingerprints of the woman, all right, and cross-referenced it with Birmingham records, police records, basically. And it matched them to a young woman called Jodie Hyde, okay? Now, Jodie Hyde was 21. She was a very young woman. She was known to the police through her association of taking drugs, being involved with some not so great characters, let's say. And given that fact, at first they presumed that it was in relation to something gang related. Basically, that was their first thought. Okay. So, like I say, Jodie, she was a butane gas addict. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I genuinely don't. I can have a guess, but it's not something I've heard of or come around. But she's a butane gas addict, okay? Now, her partner was quickly identified and the police went in to question him, all right? So we look at the 8th of November 2000, which is the day before, all right, because they want to know what Jodie was doing the day before. So when they're questioning him, they go through the time frame of when he was with her. And he said he was only with her in the morning. Okay, so they go through their movements. He says he went to the DSS office with her first. They then get a taxi together, and that's around 11 a.m. and she drops him home. Okay, and he says that's it. He hasn't seen her since. All right, I do have to wonder why it wasn't him that reported her missing anyway. Neither here nor there at this point. So they tracked down the taxi that they were in. They obviously would have asked him what taxi service was it, etc. They get hold of the taxi driver and he confirms what the boyfriend said, but he adds a little bit that the boyfriend missed out. Apparently, Jodie and her boyfriend were in the back of the taxi, but they were having a huge row where he ended up punching her in her face. Okay, so it doesn't look good for the boyfriend at the moment, okay? And when they go back and look at Jodie, she has, in fact, got bruises to her face. So it ties up with what the taxi driver said. It said that the taxi driver then, at around 11:40 a.m, dropped her to a chemist for her to get a methadone. Apparently, at this point, the chemist, even though she had her prescription, apparently the chemist didn't want to give it to her because she needed to get reassessed by the doctors or something along those lines. Around 1:30 p.m, so 13:30 p.m, it's then said she goes to the hospital on Soho Road. All right. Now, when she's in there and the police, knowing she's been there and the police go and question the people at the hospital, the receptionist, etc., they confirm, yes, she was there the day before, but she was with a very big, kind of overweight, tall, scruffy looking man. And the description of this man that Jodie was with in the afternoon isn't the same as her boyfriend. It's a completely different man, okay? So, now we get back to the 9th of November 2000, so back to the day of the murder, and her boyfriend is arrested on suspicion of murder. They bring him straight in. They arrest him. They haven't charged him, but they just want to go through the questions. I don't know why, but they see arresting him on suspicion of the murder is the best way to keep him for questioning, etc. But they end up later releasing him. He's eliminated from their queries. They know it's not him. So, essentially, they're back to square one, except this big, scruffy man that's been identified as being with her the day before. Okay, so the question is, who was this scruffy man? Who was he? Okay, now we're going to Sunday, the 12th of November 2000. This is 3 days later. Stay with me, all ties in, okay? Now, this is around 8:30 in the morning. Like I say, it's 3 days later after Jodie's been found, all right? But now we're in Droitwich, about 25 miles away from Birmingham, all right? And a man, it's 8:30 in the morning, Sunday, it's quite quiet, and a man's out just simply walking his dog. And he comes across a woman in the middle of a quiet road. It's a residential area, and there's a woman lying there, quite obviously deceased. Just not hidden. She's naked, okay? There's been no effort to hide this woman whatsoever. She's just been left in the middle of the road, okay? Now, when the police come to investigate this, the police that actually take over this case is actually, oh my God, I've lost it. West Mercia. Oh God. West Mercia police. When they come, they, like West Midlands police with Jodie, believe this is again a deposition site. Believing that this woman has been murdered elsewhere and deposited into the middle of this road. Okay? This was around the junction 5 of the M5, Worcestershire. That's where it was. Now, there was severe trauma to this woman's head and body. In fact, bordering on mutilation. All right? There's been no effort to hide her body, as I've said. There's actually a tyre mark found on her body. Okay, and there are tyre marks, like tyre tracks in the mud, leading up to the area, all right? And is this a coincidence to Jodie? Basically, what's happened is 2 police forces are working on 2 separate crimes that have happened within 3 days of each other. The pathologists that get brought in, I don't know where my teeth are this evening, that get brought in, okay, are aware of this, okay, and eventually they identify this woman, and they have to identify her with dental records, okay, and they identify her, and it's 25-year-old Rosemary Corcoran. She's from Castle Vale, all right, in Birmingham, okay. Now, she had been reported missing that morning by her boyfriend, okay. Said he hadn't seen her from the night before. It's why I mentioned Jodie's boyfriend. You know, he said he hadn't seen her from, 11 o'clock the morning before, and he hadn't done it, whereas this Rosemary's boyfriend had alerted the police to her being missing from the night before, but he hadn't seen her from the night before. So, but they did have 3 young children together, and her family were getting really worried about her. Now, Rosemary had actually gone out the night before with her auntie to a party, and they'd gone to the Rainbow pub. Now, I know the Rainbow pub. I do. I know the Rainbow pub. It's in Digbeth in Birmingham. Digbeth is not so much, I mean, it still is, but it's changed a lot. Digbeth was where a lot of our Irish pubs were, our Irish community would go. Our St. Patrick's Day parade used to be in Digbeth. I believe it started again last year. I haven't gone in a long time because it had changed from what it used to be. A lot of the original pubs have closed, and you know, there was even a place there called the Irish Centre, which has in fact moved since then. So this was, I suppose you could say, the Irish district. Okay, that's where the Rainbow pub was. I think it's still there. But she'd basically gone out the night before to the Rainbow pub with her aunt to a party, and she hadn't come home. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, they needed dental records to identify Rosemary. So you know, you can just imagine the state of these women, that they're having to do that to identify them. Now, what Rosemary's auntie said when the police went to speak to her was that, yes, they'd been at the Rainbow pub, but Rosemary had left the night before with a big built, tall, very scruffy looking man. Okay, so can see a sort of pattern here, can't we? Now, this man was a drinker at the Rainbow Pub. He did drink there. But he also, he'd become a bit of an odd job man there. You know, I don't know if he did fix stuff, but he was known to be sort of a non-official taxi driver for people who, you know, sometimes needed dropping home when the pub was closing. Maybe they got too drunk, they just don't want to get a taxi. He was known to people in the pub, and that was kind of his unofficial role, taxi driver. All right. So we get to the 13th of November 2000, all right? This is 4 days later after Jodie's been found, okay? So it's actually the day after Rosemary's been found, 4 days after Jodie's been found, okay? Now, while investigations are going on for Jodie, the police are obviously, they're trying to trace her last movements, all right? So we know what Rosemary had been doing. Now they're trying to, that's with West Mercia Police, West Midlands Police. I know it sounds confusing, it all ties up. I'm getting myself tied up in knots here. So West Mercia Police are working on Rosemary's murder. West Midlands Police are working on Jodie's murder, all right? So now they're still trying to trace her movements, all right? We know she was at the hospital with this big scruffy man. So they make their way down to Digbeth, all right, where she'd been seen. And they do their sort of spot checks around shops and pubs and stuff. And they end up going into a chip shop where they're like, yeah, we saw her. We saw her and it was a Wednesday. We saw her. So they carry on going, and it leads them to the Rainbow Pub, all right? Now, it appears, now I've watched a documentary on this. I've also looked at other information out there about this particular case. I will say there's not a mass amount about it, which is terrible. I never heard of this case before. Which, again, I know the area, I've been to those pubs. It's crazy that it isn't more well known. But at the point where the police for West Midlands turned up at the Rainbow Pub, the West Mercia Police also turned up at the Rainbow Pub, because that was where they knew that Rosemary had got in the car with a man, in a taxi type thing with a man. And the West Midlands Police are just popping in to see if they've seen Jodie or they saw Jodie on that day. Okay, so that's where we are. Now, when both police forces meet at the Rainbow Pub, they both realise they're both looking for the same man. Because Jodie was seen with a big, scruffy-looking fella at the hospital. Rosemary was left with a big, scruffy-looking man. Okay? So they both realised they're looking for the same fella. The fella they're looking for is a man by the name of Phillip John Smith. Okay? He's 35 years old. Now, when I said he's a big fella, he's 6'4". All right? He's a big guy. He's about 200 pounds. He's a big guy, all right? Now, as I said, he was the odd job man for the pub. And the people in the pub, this is how you know, you just don't know who you're talking to. Because the people in the pub, they had a couple of nicknames for this man. First one being Lala from the Teletubbies. I don't know how to take that if someone likened me to a Teletubby. But that was said to be more based on, they thought he was a bit slow. Okay? There's also another nickname, Bigfoot. And this was apparently said because when he would walk, he would drag his feet and kind of leave trainer marks or mud marks on the floor because he was that hefty on his feet. Okay. And another one by the people who just believed he was completely harmless was a gentle giant. Okay. So they had all these sort of nicknames for him, but Lala and Gentle Giant just gives you this image of just this big, big cuddly man. It's kind of the image it brings, doesn't it? Okay. Now, he said that Phillip did have learning difficulties. He did go to a school for special needs as a child. He was born on the 10th of July 1965 in Gloucester. He actually lived at one point on Midland Road. He was a neighbour of the notorious Fred and Rose West. Just crazy. He did have a partner in the early 90s, had 3 children with her, but they broke up. And he travelled around quite a bit. He'd worked on the fairground, but he had travelled around quite a lot before settling in Birmingham in 1999. Okay, so only a year before this. All right. He actually moved into a flat on Braithwaite Road in Sparkbrook. Again, somewhere I know. Look, I walked down there many times in the past. So it's crazy to think that. Now, he'd already been questioned about Rosemary, right? And what it was is, you might be thinking, well, why were West Mercia police looking for him then? It's because what he'd actually done is when Rosemary's aunt had come forward and said the last person she'd saw Rosemary was him, he'd actually got in touch with the police himself and gave like a statement to them about, and he'd actually said that he dropped her off at the Monte Carlo nightclub in Handsworth. Now, I haven't ever been there. I've heard of it. I'd never been there. But he dropped her off at the Monte Carlo nightclub about 3:30 in the morning. And this was on the 12th of November 2000, so the night before. Okay. So early hours of the morning she was found. Sorry. Now, when the police, on hearing this, knowing this was the guy we were looking for, the guy that the West Midlands police were looking for, they went and looked at CCTV from the Monte Carlo nightclub, all right? And it actually shows him on there, not dropping her off, where he'd actually said she'd gone off with 2 men, but couldn't give a description of these men properly. He'd said 2 black men, just randomly, you know. When trying to be pinned down on an actual description of these men, he couldn't give it. So when they looked at the CCTV footage, what they actually saw was Phillip and Rosemary outside the club, and he'd began assaulting Rosemary on camera. It was caught on camera, okay? So given the fact of seeing that, knowing he was the last person to see her and everything else, West Mercia police actually arrest Phillip, okay? So he's brought in, he's arrested on suspicion of murdering Rosemary, though. Just Rosemary, okay? Now, back to Jodie. They actually found CCTV footage of her in Phillip's car around 3 a.m. on the 9th of November, okay? And when they check his car, because his car, they know what car he's got, they see it on the CCTV, they also can check his tyres, and they match the tyre marks that had been left on Rosemary. So all this evidence is coming forward. All of this is tying this man into the you know, at least suspicion of being the one who murdered both these women. Okay, that's what's happening at the moment. Then when the tyres match, Rosemary, it's like, right, we've got you for Rosemary, but we've still got Jodie, okay? So what they do is they search his flat, all right? Now, when they go into his flat, they notice they go into his bathroom, and his bath, you can see a picture of it on the documentary, but in the bath, it's still full of water, and there's clothes in there. And when they check, he's got a pair of jeans in there that have got blood on them. They're blood stained, all right? Now, when they send off very quickly to find out whose blood is on these jeans, all right, it's Rosemary's blood on there, okay? That's it. He's done. It was sort of, they call it digital evidence with Rosemary originally. Now they've got actual forensic evidence to basically charge him, all right? But still looking at Jodie, well, there's blood stains in his flat that they again quickly check that comes back as being Jodie's blood, all right? So they also find fabric in the flat. Remember I said Jodie, when she was found, had been wrapped in a blanket. Those fibres matched the blanket that Jodie had been wrapped in. So again, like Rosemary, they've got digital evidence of Jodie being with him on CCTV, and they've also got forensic evidence now, okay? But what they found was a pair of his boots in the flat, okay? And there's blood on there. So once again, they send that off very quickly to find out whose blood this is. And the blood is Rosemary's, but also an unknown person's, okay? There's blood in his car, the outside of his car, okay? And when they searching around, they find Jodie's methadone prescription in his bin that hadn't been emptied yet. Well, the bin men hadn't took it yet. That's it. They've got him. But you might be like, well, who's that unknown blood that's on his boots? Okay. Well, Sunday the 12th of November 2000 at 8 a.m. and you might be like, when Rosemary was found. Right. Was the same day as Rosemary was found. But we go to Highgate in Birmingham. Again, another area I know very, very well. Okay. A woman had been run over. Okay. She'd been hit by a car. But then she'd been beaten so badly, she was left unrecognisable. She was left just dead in the street. In the street again. Okay. They had to identify this woman by her dental records again. Okay. There's blood on the path. There's blood on the road. Alright. It's just horrific. It's a horrific sight. Alright. When they identify this woman, it's a woman called Carol Jordan. Who's 39. She's actually the mother of six children. Now, with Rosemary and Jodie, there was a connection to Phillip, only based on the Rainbow pub. Okay, that, I'm not saying they knew him. They had they didn't know this man. They actually thought he was the pub's taxi driver. They thought they were safe. Okay, both women did, but Carol Jordan, she had nothing to do with the Rainbow pub. She had nothing to do with Phillip at all. And she was actually on her way to work. She was a carer. She was on her way to work. Okay. And her blood actually matched the unknown blood that was on Phillip's boots. Okay. Basically, what had happened was, he's on the way back from depositing Rosemary 25 miles away in Droitwich. Okay? So he's just murdered Rosemary. He's just discarded her on a road. And on his way back to Birmingham, now Highgate is just up the road from Sparkbrook. He would have been, I don't know, about 7 or 8 minutes away from home. And it said that Carol was literally just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And he runs her over, okay? And then a 15-year-old lad actually witnesses him. It looked like, to the lad as well, it must have looked like he was helping her up. Must have looked like, oh my God, it was an accident and this man's helping her up. And it was said as he was helping her, you know, she was struggling to walk, but she was alive. She was alive. He just hit her with his car. She was alive. And he walks her. And Highgate's made up of, they done it like a refurb. Oh God, years and years ago, late 80s, early 90s maybe, there's a massive refurb done Edgbaston, Borsall Heath, Highgate, those sort of areas. And they put up lots of pretty bushes and everything everywhere, you know, that kind of way. And he's actually walked her into one of these off the road and into like a pathway. So still open, but in like a pathway. Where she must have thought, you know, she must have been angry that this man just hit her with his car, but she must have thought, well, God, at least he's helping me. And he walks out of the eye line, obviously of this lad that had seen them and anyone else, and then proceeds to beat her to death, stamping on her head, face and body. This poor mother of six children, left without a mum. 9 in all if you count Rosemary. Rosemary had 3 children. She'd just gone out on a night out with her auntie to a party. You know, it's just so sad. Poor Jodie, 21 years of age. 21 years of age. Obviously, it sounds like she's gone down the wrong path at this point in her life, but who's to say where her life would have gone after that? You know, it's neither here nor there. I mean, it was said that originally when they found Jodie, it was because, you know, because they knew of her from doing drugs, basically. They kind of thought that was what would have happened. Now, luckily, they didn't just go, oh, it's part of the gang culture or something. Luckily, that wasn't what happened. But it's just, the whole thing is just horrific. It was 3 women in 4 days, basically. And on the 3rd of December 2000, he was charged with the murder of Jodie, Rosemary and Carol. And he had the audacity to plead not guilty. Not guilty. All the evidence they had, the police thought it was Christmas, the amount of evidence he'd left. Between his flat and his car and CCTV, and the fact that all 3 women he'd just left out in the open. And he pleads not guilty. Oh, God. So, on the 3rd of July 2001, his trial begins. Now, obviously, that Rosemary was under West Mercia Police, Jodie and Carol were under West Midlands, but both police forces agreed to combine to have the trial for all 3 women. Okay, so the trial begins, like I say, on the 3rd of July 2001. There's so much evidence linking him to all 3 women. Apparently, he was just scruffy from beginning to end. He didn't even make an effort for court. Nothing. Now, even though he pled not guilty and they had all this evidence against him, it wasn't until he actually went in the dock to be questioned, okay, There was no witnesses for him for the defence or anything else. The defence tried to say something like the police had put the evidence there and everything. It was all rubbish, but he had to testify in his own trial. And when it comes to the cross-examination, he couldn't take it. And he has a panic attack. He actually has a panic attack. And they had obviously adjourned it, send the jury out and everything else. And his team come up and they're like, you okay? And they check him out. And it was at that point he talks to his team and he pleads not guilty. Sorry, he pleads guilt. Pleads guilty. My God. It's at that point that he pleads guilty. All right? And what I thought was really sad, and it has been pointed out, it was just absolutely awful that I think the judge called him a coward as well. It was a cowardly way of doing it. I've written down coward. The families of Jodie, Rosemary and Carol had all had to sit through a whole trial listening to what he'd done to their family members, what he'd done. No reason, no motive. And they'd had to sit through all that. And then he pleads guilty. He could have saved them all that. He could have saved them that heartbreak. But it was only when he was being questioned and he was under a bit of stress, all of a sudden then it's like, oh, can't take this. Then he pleads guilty. Okay. So on the 18th of July 2001, he's sentenced to 3 life sentences with a minimum of 35 years. I hope this man never gets out. He's obviously... they don't know. They actually don't know what did it. They don't know if there was a sexual element into it. Now, Rosemary and Jodie were obviously found naked. I haven't heard that there was a sexual assault that took place on either woman. But they said there could have been like a sexual frustration as part of it. But they're guessing. They're guessing. No one knows. No one knows why he did this, why he blew, why he just murdered 3 women in 4 days. No one knows. Okay. So outside of the court, there is footage of a family member basically saying an animal wouldn't do that, calling him scum. It was just that looked very upset. Okay. So a lot of that information was from a documentary that I watched on this case. Some that I found online. But there was something else that I found. Okay. There was a woman called Patricia Lynott. Okay. Who was, I might not be pronouncing that right. It could be Lynott. Okay. 47 years old. Alright. Now, Patricia worked at the Rainbow Pub. Okay. I've seen in some reports she was a barmaid. I've seen in some reports she was a cleaner. Okay. Now, Patricia was actually from Ireland. And she'd come over 4 years previous over here. She didn't really know anyone. She wasn't living with anyone. She was living in a flat in Bordsley Green. All right. Now, apparently a lovely woman, but, didn't really know anyone here. So, she hadn't been into work and no one had seen her for a little while. Okay. Now, I don't know for 100% was it the landlady of the Rainbow who reported Patricia missing. I believe it might have been, but I'm not 100%, so I'm not going to name that landlady, all right? But she was basically a wellness check. People wanted to check if she was okay, okay? So the police go round on the 23rd of November 2000, which was just over 2 weeks before Jodie was found. Just over 2 weeks, that's all it is, all right? And when the police go round and make their way into her flat in Bordsley Green, okay, they find her dead in her bedroom, okay? Now, the landlady of the pub was waiting outside because she wanted to know how Patricia was, if she was okay. Guess who brought her to the said flat to check on Patricia? Phillip, her taxi driver, who she allowed to take her patrons, okay, home when they're too drunk or when they needed a lift. She also used him for a lift to go round to Patricia's to see what was going on. And it was said that he was with her, stood outside and had actually turned around and gone, I hope she's okay, while the police are in there. It said that she did have a bruise to her back and the back of her arm, and she did have a gash on her head. Now, don't forget, this is 2 weeks before Jodie, and there was no evidence of a break-in. There was no evidence of anything suspicious. So her death was put down to natural causes, and she was sent home to Athlone in Ireland, okay, and she was buried. When all of this happened, a fortnight later, and it all went off, and then the police sort of traced back and realised what had happened with Patricia, they get in touch with where she was buried in Ireland, and on the 8th of March 2001, her grave's actually exhumed, okay, but she was sent to Dublin for another autopsy to be done, but it was returned by the coroner as inconclusive. But rather than it saying on her death certificate natural causes, it now's got open verdict. So her poor family, as devastated as they were that they'd lost their loved one, now they don't know what happened to her. But it's the fact that he was stood outside going, I hope she's okay. Now, I don't know. No one knows. No one knows if he had anything to do with this, but it just seems a little bit coincidental, doesn't it? To me, it does. And that's why I've mentioned it at the end, okay? There's nothing to tie him into Patricia, but circumstantial evidence, I suppose you would you say, or just where they were and the area and everything else, the fact that she worked with him in the same area, in the same pub that he drank, and, you know, he was an odd job man there, but, yeah, I just find it a little bit suspicious, personally, that, but nothing can be done about that. Like I say, the pathologist couldn't, it was inconclusive, so, yeah, that was the Birmingham spree killer, Phillip John Smith. I've made a mess here. Yeah, thank you all for joining me. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. If you'd like to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/JessRose5472. Or join me on the live, or you could like, comment, or subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. But thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to have a quick chat with the guys in the live because they've been very quiet, or I think it's because I haven't been able to see any of their comments. So I haven't actually been able to see anything of what's been said, luckily, because I weren't going to get put off. But you've been very good by the looks of it. So, how are we all? How are we? It's awful, isn't it? Awful. How are we? Have you... What was that? Have you got a gash on your head, Phil? What He's terrible, isn't he? Patricia? Didn't I say... I said Patricia, didn't I? Oh, don't say that. Did I say it wrong? No, I know I didn't. I don't know why this keeps going off. It stopped doing that for a while, hadn't it? But I couldn't see any comments either, so I managed to battle through after the first probably 5. It just stopped coming up then. So I don't know what's been going on. Have we all been okay? Has Phil been... I did say, thank God. I thought I had. I'd have been mortified then. How are we all anyway? Did I see Ray in there as well? Did Ray join us too? Hi, Ray. Has Jessica been in? Heard Josie got a hiding, bless her. Heard Josie got a hiding, bless her. Who? Who? I'm glad I didn't say that out loud then. Glad I didn't repeat that. Oh my God, I'm so glad these comments weren't on there. I'm so glad. Yous are terrible. Has Jessica been in tonight? Has she been there? I can see Ray. How you doing, Ray? Did you watch the documentary too? It was very close. Very close. You messed up there. You really messed up there. Really did. I was just wondering. I know Sharon said she was... I think she said she was baking this evening. So, baking something lovely. So, she says she'll watch after. But are we all okay? I am so stiff here. It's terrible. And all my legs have all locked up while I've been here, and I was trying to hold a straight face. What's with it? He's being funny, Phil, because it was me. I'd said that word, and he's trying to be funny. He's on about me. It was a comment I made not long ago. I can tell you exactly what it was called. It was the, it's on, I believe it's on, where did Mum say she'd seen it? It was, oh God, what channel did, forensic something. I can't even do it for you because I haven't got my phone. But if you want to look at it online, just put in Birmingham spree killer. It's ridiculous now. He's stupid. Needs a really good cut. Birmingham spree killer, Phillip Smith. Phillip, I'll tell you who it is now. The Birmingham spree killer, Phillip John Smith. Mum, what was the program? Yeah, if you just put into YouTube though, if you put that in, you should be able to find the documentary. There's been a couple of people who put it up. Don't be tempted to put the hour and a bit one on. Don't put that one on. The sound quality's awful. But the which one? There's a 42-minute one. Put that one up. You'll be able to watch it on there. So, yes. So, there we go. How are we all anyway? I can't, do you know, it's driving me crazy. My comments just completely keep dropping off. It's been doing it. Right, I am going to, yes, I'm going to call it a night now. Thank you all for joining me. It's, where am I? Oh my God. This is driving me absolutely crazy, this is. Where am I? Where am I? There we go. There we go. Yeah, Phil, have a look. Have a look. That's crazy, that is. It's just, it won't show up at all. Right, okay. Thank you all for joining me again. And I will be back on Tuesday at 8 p.m. With a request, and what am I doing? My outro's just gone to pot, hasn't it? I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Tuesdays on my live, on my request evenings. Thursdays are my stories that I like to bring to you. If you want to join my Patreon, patreon.com/deshrose5472. And yes, if you could like, comment and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Like, comment and subscribe, guys. Thank you to everyone. I'm so sorry. I can't, these comments just are not showing up. I'm seeing a couple, then they're going. I can't make them out, but thank you all so much for joining me. And I'll see you all on Tuesday. Have a fabulous weekend, guys. And I'll see you all Tuesday. Take care. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Like, comment, subscribe.